Imagine two men standing at the base of a mountain. The first man, let's call him James, is carrying a backpack that weighs 80 pounds. Inside that pack are the latest gadgets, 3 pairs of designer shoes, a heavy collection of luxury watches, and the emotional weight of a car payment that consumes 40% of his monthly energy. James is strong, he earns a high income, and he starts the climb with a burst of speed. But every step he takes requires a massive output of calories just to keep the weight from pulling him backward. Now look at the second man. He is carrying a small 10-pound pack. Inside are only the essentials: a high-quality water bottle, a reliable map, and a light jacket. He earns half of what James earns, yet he moves with a rhythmic, effortless grace. By the midpoint of the mountain, James is gasping for air, his knees are buckling under the weight of his own possessions, and he's forced to stop. The second man glances back, smiles, and continues upward until he reaches the summit. This mountain is your life, and the weight in that backpack is your lifestyle. Most people believe that the goal of life is to see how much weight you can carry to the top. They have been conditioned by a multi-billion-dollar advertising machine to equate carrying capacity with success. But the harsh mathematical reality of the world is that the more you carry, the less vertical distance you can travel. Today, we are going to deconstruct the invisible cage of the high-income poor and rebuild a philosophy of wealth that is based on weightlessness rather than accumulation. Most people are living in a state of financial obesity. Just as physical obesity is the result of consuming more calories than you burn, financial obesity is the result of consuming more stuff than your soul actually requires for joy. We start with the most dangerous myth in modern society, the belief that a higher salary solves financial stress. It doesn't. A higher salary without a disciplined philosophy is simply a larger shovel to dig a deeper hole. We see this in professional athletes and lottery winners who go broke within years. They had the income, but they didn't have the internal filter. The internal filter is the ability to look at a shimmering new object and see it for what it truly is, a claim on your future time. When you buy a $1,000 smartphone that you don't need, you aren't just spending $1,000. You are spending 40 hours of your finite existence, hours you will never get back, for a piece of glass and silicone that will be obsolete in 24 months. Is that a fair trade? Most people never ask the question, so they keep trading their lives away one gadget at a time. This brings us to the first pillar of our new architecture, the sovereign margin. The sovereign margin is the gap between your standard of living and your level of income. In a consumerist society, the pressure to close the gap is immense. When you get a promotion, the world expects you to move into a bigger house. When you get a bonus, the world expects you to buy a better car. Closing the gap is the fastest way to become a slave to your own success. To remain a sovereign individual, you must keep the gap wide. If your income goes up by $2,000 a month, your lifestyle should stay exactly where it was. That $2,000 gap is your freedom fund. It is the wall that protects you from the whims of a bad boss, the volatility of the market, and the anxiety of the unknown. Without a margin, you are a high-performance engine running at redline 24/7. Eventually, the engine will explode. The second pillar is the concept of the maintenance tax. Every object you bring into your life demands a slice of your limited bandwidth. A larger house requires more cleaning, more repairs, higher utility bills, and more mental space to manage. A luxury car requires specialized service, higher insurance, and the constant fear of a scratch or a dent. We think we are buying convenience, but we are actually buying complexity. Complexity is the enemy of wealth. The truly wealthy understand that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication because it frees up the one resource you cannot renew, your attention. Where your attention goes, your life follows. If your attention is scattered across maintaining 50 different possessions, your life will feel scattered. If your attention is focused on your health, your relationships, and your craft, your life will feel deep and meaningful. The third pillar is the 1,000-day rule. Before you make a major purchase, a house, a car, a high-end luxury item, ask yourself, will I still be excited about this 1,000 days from now? Most of our purchases are driven by hedonic adaptation, the psychological phenomenon where we quickly return to a stable level of happiness despite major positive or negative changes. The new car smell fades in 3 weeks. The thrill of the new house fades in 3 months. But the payments last for years. If the item doesn't provide a functional utility that improves your life 1,000 days from now, it is an impulse, not an investment. The fourth pillar is the myth of social proof. We spend money we haven't earned to buy things we don't want to impress people we don't even like. This is the tragedy of the Joneses. We are performing for an audience that isn't even paying attention. Your neighbors aren't thinking about your car. They're too busy worrying about what you think of their car. When you stop playing the game of social signaling, you gain an immediate competitive advantage. You stop wasting your capital on costumes and start building fortresses. A fortress is a paid-off home, a diversified portfolio, and a year's worth of cash. A costume is a designer logo on a chest that is tight with anxiety. The fifth pillar is the mastery of enough. There is a specific number, a specific level of material comfort where your happiness peaks. Beyond that point, more money actually starts to decrease your quality of life because of the added stress and responsibility. This is the inverted U-curve of wealth. Most people never stop to find their peak. They keep climbing past the point of diminishing returns, wondering why they feel more miserable the more they earn. You must sit down with a pen and paper and define what enough looks like for you. Not for your parents, not for your friends, and not for Instagram. What does a perfectly sufficient life look like? Once you have that number, you are free. You no longer have to compete. You can choose work that fulfills you rather than work that pays the most. You can live in a location that inspires you rather than a location that validates your status. The final pillar is the wealth of optionality. Real wealth is not the ability to buy things, it is the ability to say no. It is the ability to say no to a job that compromises your integrity. It is the ability to say no to a social obligation that drains your energy. It is the ability to say no to the world's demands on your time. James, with his $95,000 salary and his $94,000 lifestyle, has zero no power. He is a yes man by necessity. He must say yes to the overtime, yes to the stress, and yes to the grind because he is shackled to his overhead. The man with the $52,000 income and the $30,000 lifestyle is a king by comparison. He has $22,000 of no power every single year. He can afford to be honest. He can afford to be brave. He can afford to be free. As we close this session, I want you to look around your room. Look at the items you have accumulated over the last 5 years. How many of them have actually moved the needle on your happiness? How many of them are currently charging you a maintenance tax? The path to $1 million starts with the first $100 you choose not to spend. It starts with the realization that you are already enough, and no purchase will ever complete you. You were born complete. The world just convinced you otherwise so it could sell you the pieces back. Take your power back. Lighten your pack. Start your climb. The view from the summit is much better when you're out of breath from carrying things that never mattered in the first place. You have the map. Now you just need the courage to leave the baggage behind. Your journey towards true, unshakable wealth begins the moment you decide that your time is worth more than your stuff. Make the choice today. Choose freedom. Choose simplicity. Choose life.